Welcome back to West Texas View.
Welcome back. After that presentation by Cliff, the Duke, it should whet your appetite, and I want to give you a little bit more information and let Cliff talk a little bit more about how he developed this character and this script. And you really should see the whole presentation, because that was just the little beginning of it, and then it goes into really the whole history of our country from the perspective of the Duke. And he brings in the ideas and the patriotism, and it's great for all ages. Old timers like me are very nostalgic as he talks about things. Young people get really excited, and I've seen some of the college audiences that really were excited that they were hearing this kind of thing again. And so I want you to know a little bit more about Cliff and keep him in your memory bank then the next time you have a group that you're wanting to do a program for. And tell us a little bit about some of the kinds of venues you've done your presentation for.
Well, I've done several churches, some conventions. I have an event just coming up that's going to be at the Horseshoe for a convention. I think the audiences that really like this a lot, of course, are churches that have a lot of seniors. But I've got great response from youth as well. But certainly the baby boomer generation who grew up on him,
love him.
Love it, yeah. And in developing the script, I thought the best thing to do was to emphasize not only patriotism, but God in it as well, because God has been such a guiding factor in this country. Certainly the belief to bring us back from the brink of destruction, perhaps to be.
And almost always the glue that held our country, our people together was that.
In fact, after the opening, I go into the Revolutionary War period and talk about how the Patriots at Valley Forge were cold and tattered, with no weapons and no clothing, and they all prayed for a miracle. Well, that miracle was a man named Washington, and then he, as we historically remember, goes down on one knee and prays to God and salvation, and after many more years, we have a country, and 13 colonies became 13 states. And then, of course, the opening of the West after the Louisiana Purchase was instrumental in building the country. But it emphasizes in the script not only the history of the country, but the inflection of how Wayne would say it, how he would interpret it. Sometimes the phrasing is, well, it's real short, comes in one sentence, something like that, instead of a long drawn-out thing. But the response has been great. I've been getting a lot more requests that I'm going to look into to do it in more schools and more youth.
Well, one of the interesting things that I've visited with one of the colleges in Abilene, and they said this is something particularly of interest to our oil and gas and our business communities, because they come in and they want to start a program with on a really high note. They want somebody that'll really inspire them and remind them of what this country was built on, and our capitalism is one of the important legs of our stool. And so they have been very excited and very interested, and of course several of the convention and visitors bureaus have told me that in bringing people into the community, to know that we had some talent like you, some professional programming like yours, was a real big sales part of it. And so those are the kinds of things that a lot of people in the Permian Basin don't even know about. But you would go and do a program for a Chamber of Commerce in a community outside of, this area.
A lot of, like we've talked about, a lot of guys do impressions and impersonators, but so many don't do a full show. I've done events where I've gone to be the MC, introduce the guests and so on.
And so you do it in character.
I do it in character, and then I ad-lib into it, and then what's really fun is then to, if it's a banquet affair, to go out into the audience and to interact with the people in the audience, because they always have one image or another, and I have developed a lot of a good amount of lines, if you will, from a lot of the
movies
he's
Yeah.
done. So everyone has their favorite one-liner. It's not just Pilgrim. There's a lot of one-liners he did in so many movies that people will remember. And that's really one of the fun things too, is to be right there with them down there in the mashed potatoes and the soup, if you will, and interact with them. Certainly with a lot of our generation, it just brings back a lot of memories. But more than that, it stirs again the reminder of how we need to be conscious of our history and bring that history again. I mean, if we don't talk about the history, we may be doomed to repeat it.
That's right. If we don't learn from it.
Exactly.
But also the value system that he represented is part of it. It's clean. There's no suggestive humor or anything in it. It's just something that any audience could appreciate and any audience could relate to. And one of the things that one of the colleges told me was it was very interesting to see some of the young children of some of the faculty members and how they sit there just like they were really watching a Western and their eyes were really big and they were just drinking in everything. But I love the authentic clothes that you have. This is called a bib shirt.
It's a bib shirt, which is a Western, pretty much of a Western staple, really. The hat, of course, is a Stetson like he wore, and the vest is, of course, you go online and then it's the Duke vest. Well, yeah, it is, but I'll tell you, you have to pay almost double the price because of that. The gun belt I have is the gun belt he wore in so many, many, many movies.
And your rolled up breeches legs.
Yeah, well, he did that a lot. Not in a lot of the Calvary pictures, of course, and some of the later films he did in the 60s. But during the late 50s, like Rio Bravo, as an example, McClintock, he wore a signature costume. He wore the same belt. In fact, the belt buckle is from the movie The Red River D, which was done with Walter Brennan and Montgomery Clift. And that was a Howard Hawks production. And so at the end of the filming of that movie, Wayne plays this tough cattle boss, Howard Hawks had this craftsman from Mexico design these belt buckles, and each one was inscripted on the back and given to the cast. One was given to Wayne, one was given to Walter Brennan, Montgomery Clift, and some of the other people in it, and of course Howard Hawks, the director. And so it's an interesting, and he used to wear that in later films, like Comancheros as an example, McClintock, he wore that McClintock, and some of the other movies in the 60s. Of course he did a lot of films where he wasn't wearing the cowboy hat, Donovan's Reef, let's see, the Irish one where he played him and Maureen O'Hara, where he was in Ireland. I can't think of the name, which is really crazy. But and he did a lot of things as far as where he put on a suit and tie. But everyone knows him as the cowboy.
The Duke.
Yeah.
Well, so you have this very wonderful 45-minute program, but is there additional programs in the future?
I'm working on another script right now, which is actually in the script is going to be little vignettes from various movies. Vignettes from Rio Bravo, vignettes from The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, vignettes from McClintock. So all of these are going to be little vignettes that won't be nearly as long, but there'll be those recognizable lines he's done. Okay. One of the ones in The Searchers, he says 7 times in the movie to Jeffrey Hunter is, "Well, that'll be the day." But then there are other things you can build around it, which I'm trying to do. And of course, in McClintock, when he's caught by this guy with a shotgun because he thinks that his daughter was taken out by one of his ranch friends and whatever, he turns the shotgun around on him and says, "I haven't lost my temper in 20 years. But somebody ought to belt you right in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. Oh, the hell I won't." And then he hits it. So we said hell on. So those are kind of the things that I'm putting together on a second script that'll just kind of fall one, two, and the other, But in between those lines will be a setup of the movie. I'll talk a little bit about what the movie and so on, and I'll do it in my voice, the Wayne voice and so on. So it's just a collection, and it won't be as long. It'll be probably 30 minutes, 28, 20.
But the bottom line is we have this wonderful talent here, this wonderful asset for programs, and you don't even have to pay travel expenses for someone that's in our area, where all of these people that are calling you from Abilene and San Antonio and Lubbock and other places are having to pay not only the honorarium, but you have Duke will travel. So we certainly want you to take down the phone number and the website so that you can get in touch with him or email him, because this is a great opportunity to have something very unique and very enjoyable. The people will be talking about it long after the program's over. Is there anything else you want to say before we close out the program?
Well, I have fun doing this, but the greatest thrill I have, Johnny Lou, is taking the message back to folks about our country, about our patriotism, and about our spiritual existence and what makes us strong.
And so that's the message you're bringing from you and from the Duke.
And from the Duke as well. Yeah.
And you'll love his costumes, and you'll love meeting him. So the ones of you that don't know him, this will be an opportunity for you to know him, and the ones that do will be happy to know that this has been done. We're going to have another program next Sunday, so we hope you join us then. In the meantime, be sure and contact the Duke, and Cliff Voake will be glad to make an arrangement to come and be with you in your party. We'll see you tomorrow, next Sunday, with another program. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for joining us for News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery. This has been a public affairs presentation of KWAB TV and KWES TV.